Okay, some technical difficulties. I just declare the meeting open, and this advised the members of the public by being in attendance that the city's live streaming and recording policy is in place, so you consent to having your voice or image live streamed via the city's YouTube channel. Could I call upon Deputy Mayor Winmar to welcome us to the country?
Thank you, Worship. I'll begin by acknowledging my elders past and present. Ngalak nyini kuro ngala nois niji nunga buja. Nunga mutjurpa niji nana kwabarak nunga buja kurlong. From the beginning of time till the end, this is Noongar country. Noongar people have been graceful keepers of our nation for many, many years. We ask that you look, listen, understand, and embrace all the elements of Noongar country. This is forever our home. Hello and welcome. I'm as happy as we gathered here on Noongar country this evening.
It gives me great pleasure to welcome you here, and before commencing proceedings, I too would like to acknowledge that we come together tonight in the traditional lands of the Noongar people and pay my respects to elders past and present. Could I call upon Deputy Mayor to do the dedication?
Thank you, Worship. May we, the elected members of the City of Kwinana, have the wisdom to consider all matters before us with due consideration, integrity and respect for the Council Chamber. May the decisions made be in good faith and always in the best interests of the greater Kwinana community that we serve.
Apologies, leave of absence previously approved is nil. 5.1, the Mayor's report, receiving of the annual report. So let's read the report. So I'm proud to present the second annual report, and we're excited to now move forward with key community projects made possible by the federal and state funding opportunities secured by the City. These projects reflect the City of Kwinana's strong long-term investment in community infrastructure, including the redevelopment of the Kwinana Aquatic Centre, the City Centre Precinct and staged improvements to the Kwinana Loop Trail. The City had already committed $21.9 million in the long-term financial plan to progress the aquatic redevelopment, with an addition of $17.1 million in grant funding through the Australian Government's Thriving Suburbs program. The project can now be fast-tracked to a total value of $36.9 million. The City has also secured funding to deliver key stages of the Kwinana Loop Trail, with $3.5 million in state government funding for Stage 1 and a further $2.5 million in federal commitment announced by re-elected member for Brand, Madeline King, for Stage 2 of the upgrades. While these opportunities will enhance our offering to the community, we also presented with the challenge of now working towards delivering these projects in a timely fashion. I want to thank the councillors for their commitment to the development and transformation of our community. It's been an honour to serve Kwinana with you for the past 2 years. The Chief Executive Officer's report.
This financial year marked a series of significant milestones for the City of Kwinana, reflecting both strong organisational performance and meaningful outcomes for our community. The City achieved a clean audit, with the auditor noting the high standard of financial management and governance across the organisation. We also delivered a financial surplus, providing a solid foundation to progress priorities and invest confidently in Kwinana's future. In parallel, the City delivered and commenced major projects at scale, with over $20 million in capital works delivered during the year, and several significant projects kicked off to support long-term community growth. These achievements sit alongside important governance milestones, including the elevation of Bullamara, Many Hands Aboriginal Consultative Committee, believed to be the only committee of its kind currently operating in Western Australia. Key infrastructure improvements continued with the opening of the second stage of the Gilmore Avenue shared path, improving connectivity across Kwinana. We maintained a strong focus on community safety and environmental stewardship while bringing people together through major events such as the New Look OMG Festival, which was held across multiple sites and nights, a thriving Alcoa Children's Festival, and the city's much-loved Lolly Run, which celebrated its 70th year. The Clinton Arts Centre delivered a bumper program and received multiple awards following the city assuming operations in July 23. We also launched the ArcLight Initiative pilot in 2024, supporting at-risk young people to stay in school and out of the justice system, delivering tangible improvements to community safety while positively transforming young lives. These achievements reflect the dedication, professionalism and commitment of our staff, and I'm proud to share these outcomes with the community through the annual report and thank all staff for their contribution to another successful year for the City of Kwinana.
Thank you, CEO. Now on to 6.1, questions by electors. So during this part of the agenda, electors may ask questions or seek further clarifications on any council matter. An elector who raises a question during questions by electors is to state their name and address. Electors must provide their questions in writing prior to the commencement of the meeting. A public question time form must contain all questions to be asked and include contact details, and the form must be completed in a legible form. If your question cannot be answered at this time, it will be taken on notice and the city officers will respond as soon as possible. Please note that in accordance with section 3.45 of the City of Kwinana Standing Orders Local Law 2019, a maximum of 2 questions are permitted initially. An additional question will be allowed by the presiding member if time permits following the conclusion of all questions. Are there any questions from the members of the public? Yes, if you'd like to come forward to the podium. Can you just turn your microphone on, Councillor Mill?
Excuse me, Mayor. Could I say, is the question like a motion? I have a motion to ask.
This first section is questions by electors.
Yes.
Second section is motions by electors.
Thank you.
Hello, my name is Andrew Chambers. I'm a resident of 30 Brooks Way, Lister. And thank you for having this evening. My question relates to the 2023 to 2027 litter and illegal dumping plan. I'm just wondering, has it achieved its stated goals of becoming both self-sufficient in human and other resources as detailed in that plan? I ask this question because the visible indications that it's not been very successful.
Thank you for your question. Let's refer to the Director for a response.
Thank you for the question. The city's budget is balanced in terms of its resourcing towards this new activity. So we're still working through the implementation of a lot of the work that's done with the transition to 3 bins, moving to a curbside collection system. We are finding that we are spending less in certain areas, a little bit more on things like replacing bins, but overall we're actually operating ahead of what we thought we would be operating. That will be in the budgetary figures. I'm quite happy to provide that advice at this point because we're actually performing quite well in terms of the overall costs of the service.
Do you feel that the implementation of the fortnightly collection of general rubbish and a reduced bin size is working effectively? Again, having been a walker in the morning, I see quite a few bins overflowing and actually spilling onto the ground. I think it's of some concern to quite a few citizens and collectors.
Yes, so we do monitor that, and we do work with our contractor to make sure that they are picking up, reporting and looking at going back for additional collections where they're required. People can request an additional collection if it's needed. So a lot of it's about communication and learning that there are the options within the service, which is a bit different from what it used to be.
Okay, that was the side. The main thing was about illegal dumping. As
Yeah.
I say, what are the strategies that are being rolled out to address this? I've seen the placement of limestone blocks and gates, but I've also seen people bypassing those and continuing to make illegal entry into public and private land and dumping considerable amounts of rubbish.
Yeah, and we're certainly aware of a lot of this. We do have covert operations to identify and track who is dumping. We do know that a lot of it is potentially building waste and building construction waste that is being illegally dumped in our reserves, even in some cases on private property. And we're working to track and monitor and pursuing compliance with state agencies as well involved in trying to curb the problem.
So has there been any tangible success in these programs, and what is the program rolling
Yeah.
out in the future?
So one of the other areas that we're looking at is just in the construction where we have new housing construction, and we're starting to work towards, we've notified the builders and the building industry that we're inspecting, and we will be checking on them to make sure they're keeping their sites tidy. It's one of the most visible elements of waste being left and blown around suburbs, and that's a compliance activity that we are started. We've already written out to the builders. They're now well aware that we're going to be checking on them and fining and infringing them if they don't start to manage their building sites.
Thank you for your responses, and I look forward to seeing further developments and hopefully curbing what is an expensive problem.
Thank you.
Can I also just add to that and say that obviously the move to the 3 bins is a fairly new thing for Kwinana. I mean, I think we're barely 12 months into that rollout. So at a point that rollout will be reviewed, and a significant review would occur in relation to the change to how we actually collect the rubbish. And certainly I believe that we're actually looking to run a re-education program for the community, because obviously most people got on board with the smaller bin and understand the process and are recycling better and all those sorts of things. But there are still a number of people in the community that just haven't quite got it. And obviously this requires a little bit more education to the community.
Thank you. Second question relates to school drop-off and pickups. If we were to be regulated by ongoing police campaigns to obey 40km/h school zone speed limits, can the council likewise implement range of blitzes on a rotational basis to issue warnings and infringements to parents who are illegally parking their vehicles on verges, footpaths and roadways too close to intersections and blind corners? It's only a matter of time before there's a serious accident or a child is bowled over. I've been in 2 near misses in this last week caused by this very incident.
I will let the director, one of the directors, answer the question. But I will say that when it comes to issues around primary schools especially, with parking on verges and various things like that, is potentially more of an issue at the beginning of the school year when you have new parents that are starting school with younger children and they want to be as close to the front door as possible. But certainly the council has, over the period, run blitzes, as you've suggested, in the areas where there are problems. We obviously only have a certain number of ranges, and traffic management outside of primary schools is not predominantly their main issue. But certainly, you know, the sites that are more problematic, we do go there often. And certainly, if you believe that you're witnessing instances at a particular primary school, if you want to report that to the city, then certainly we can make arrangements for the rangers to go to those specific schools.
Yeah.
So, but I'll let Mr. Bowering actually provide a little bit more information.
Thank you, through you, Mayor. Yes, so the Rangers, well, part of the Rangers' duties is to manage those situations. Obviously, it's a vexed problem with the number of people that actually drive their kids to school versus walking and cycling. As schools are not designed to contain the amount of parking. It's a well-known issue with the Department of Education and the Minister for Education across the metropolitan Perth. So we're not unique in that respect, and our rangers are somewhat challenged by having to deal with that on a daily basis. And my experience is dealing directly with the principals of the schools and looking at how they can educate their parents and of their children and manage their sites, as well as working with us in to prevent a sort of a heavy-handed compliance regime. But again, it does take a fair bit of balance, unfortunately, with the way schools operate.
It is a continuous one. I agree that it is worse at this time of the year, but again, seeing pickups and drop-offs on a regular basis is pretty continuous throughout the year.
Yep.
So, yeah, thank you. I've got some more that I will attach and submit for later consideration.
Thank you. Are there any other questions from members of the public? Did you say you had more questions?
He's given them.
You're giving them? Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, that's fine then. So we're now into 6.2 motions by electors. So Regulation 17 of the Local Government Administration Regulation of 1996, 17 Voting at a meeting, Act 5.31. 1. Each elector who is present at a general or special meeting of electors is entitled to one vote on each matter to be decided at the meeting but does not have to vote. 2. All decisions at a general or special meeting of electors are to be made by a simple majority of votes. And 3. Voting at a general or special meeting of electors is to be conducted so that no voter's vote is secret. Are there any motions by the electors? Julian? Sorry, Mr. Corliss?
I have a two-part motion for you guys. Part A would be removal of the interest and administration fees associated with the flexible payment options. B, review of late payment fees and the interest charged.
Okay.
Would you like me to,
So you want to speak on your motion?
yes. As we enter 2026, we do so on a continued high, a high cost of living with no indication of slowing anytime soon. Now, as most of this chamber is aware, this very topic is nothing new. I ask you, how many times must this be brought forward before it is taken seriously? As the city will soon argue, these costs are minuscule to the individual household. I will argue these minuscule costs remove hundreds of thousands, if not millions, from the area of community that are feeling these challenging times the most. A few days ago, we noticed that the RBA presented a 0.25% rate hike, raising the average mortgage payment by $100 per month, or $1,200 per year. The removal of these minuscule fees could simply allow our residents to cover that rise for, just say, the December period, when a little extra would be a very much appreciated spending time and with family. The city will next argue the administration fees are necessary on these options to cover the internal processes. To argue this point, I will refer to the amount of ratepayers' money used in the budget specifically towards the streamlining and improved efficiency of its in-house administration and electronic systems. Now, surely this very motion is a potential test case for this recent expenditure. What we do have is a working example from not just one, but both of our neighbouring councils regarding this very motion. As Kwinana is my preferred city, for which I am very passionate about, I do not wish to see us left behind, but rather at the forefront of remaining responsive to the uncertainties of the economic landscape unfolding before us. Thank you.
We need a seconder. Just need a seconder for the motion. Seconder, can you state your name and address, please?
Asif Foshel Salak, Johnny 46 Ipswich Street, Belmont.
And Nassim can speak. It's like a normal motion.
Yeah, it's just a normal.
Yeah.
So if you'd like to speak for the motion.
Thank you. I rise to second this motion, and I do so with strong support. At its heart, this motion is about fairness and compassion, particularly at a time when many households in Kwinana are under genuine financial pressure. The cost of living has increased significantly. Grocery, energy, rent, school fees, and so on. Charging interest on the rate installment impacts those who are already doing it tough, families on fixed or low income, which is our area, really. As Julian said, our neighboring area, which are not as, same as us, they are already doing these things. Single parents, pensioners, and residents facing unexpected hardship. These are people who are not avoiding their responsibility. They are actively trying to meet them in the most manageable way possible. Local government exists to support its community, not to unintentionally penalize vulnerability. Removing interest on installment payments sent a clear message that we understand the realities of the residents, which are facing lots of hardship, and that the council prepared to act with empathy while still maintaining responsible financial management. Importantly, this is not about waiving rates or encouraging non-payment. It is about removing an additional burden that can push people further into stress and more financial problems. By making payments more accessible, community can actually get back to paying their rates, and we can actually support better compliance and a stronger relationship between council and the community. Kwinana prides itself on being a caring, inclusive city. Supporting this motion aligns with those values and demonstrates leadership that is both practical and human. For these reasons, I'm pleased to second the motion and strongly encourage my fellow councillors to support this. Thank you so much.
Any other motions? Mrs. Selakajani?
Thank you. Apologies. I would like to move that council not undertake glyphosate spraying within walking distance of a school during school drop-off and pick-up times. Secondly, the second part of the motion is ensure clear and highly visible signage is installed whenever glyphosate or similar herbicides are used in those areas at other times, with signage remaining in place until the spray has fully dried, including after wet weather or if surface remain damp, to prevent exposure to children, pets and wildlife. And finally, require continual inspection and monitoring of contractors performing herbicide spraying, with inspection reports made available to council to ensure compliance with council policy, timing restrictions, safety standards and correct applications procedure. So I believe last year there was a motion which community asked for banning glyphosate, which was then did not happen. We received from our school community a lot of complaints which says that the herbicide was sprayed at the time that they were walking their kids to school and there were not enough signage, and if they knew, they wouldn't walk their kids and dogs around the park and places to school. So this motion will help us to protect our kids from being exposed to the spray, especially when it's dry, under different weather circumstances, because not only this herbicide will cause cancer depending on the amount of exposure and time, it also affects our sensory kids a lot because they are the most recipient of every sensitive and every sensory impact in the area. So you have this autistic child or a sensitive child walking to school and they go unsettled or overwhelmed at school and you don't know where it's come from. Exposure to this sort of, especially glyphosate, can do that. So this motion, at the heart of this motion is protecting our children, especially students, that they have no choice other than going or walking to school at that time of the day or walking home from school. Plus ensuring that community knows that the spraying is happening. And this has been reported a number of times, once by myself to the city, that the signage was not enough, was not installed. The spraying was happening far, far away from the last signage, and it was removed very quickly. So the pictures that I've submitted clearly shows that we have wet area of the spray. So imagine children rolling in the grass, pets walking around and it's on their paws and everything. This will, which is basically based on the Act, it's not really something new, will help our children to go to school safely and come back home safely and do not be overwhelmed and other impacts that this has on their body. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Is there a
My name is Elfrida Christian and my address is 56 Abingdon Crescent Road.
would you like to speak?
No.
Okay, thank you. I'll put the motion to vote. All those
Oh, it's me again. Andrew Chambers, 30 Brooks Way, Callista. My motion goes towards social media. Will this council please commit to establishing a proper local public notice board or chat on social media services, not that has an ongoing apolitical, unbiased moderation with clear and publicly stated rules of engagement and conduct? The reason behind this is currently most of the chat or notice board sites masquerade as being public institutions, but are in fact personal fiefdoms dominated by an owner who can dictate personal policy of censorship and exclusion while allowing objectionable and criminal material. Without a central, accessible and common place to get information, important news and information is being lost or blocked while radical and criminal content is being promoted. A council-administered site would, at the very least, be publicly accountable and could call on members of the public to assist in moderation, much as they do with the privately owned chats or managed chats and notice boards. It would also assist this council in promoting its activities, because I noticed that many of them are being lost across the diversity of channels, especially having worked in Corlini, with the promotion of arts events there. I've been extremely disappointed with the outcomes and the attendances for events that have been supposedly heavily promoted on social media, but many of my friends and associates have never seen anything about it. I know it's a little bit of an extreme request, but it's got to do something, because we're in a world of very toxic social media, and if you as a community want to have a healthy, engaged community that has an ability to communicate with you and for you to communicate with them, you need a channel, and I would urge you to prioritise this. Thank you.
Thank you. Is there someone that would like to second the motion? Mr. Corliss, would you like to speak on the motion? No? In that case, I'll put the motion to the vote. All those in favour? Against? Motion carried. Is there any other motions by electors? Please come forward to state your name and address.
Fraser Webb, 17 LA Close, Parmelia. This motion calls for the City of Kwinana to review the proposed move to fortnightly waste bin collections. Neighbouring councils like Rockingham are expected to debate a similar motion, the latter after thousands of signatures were gathered by residents in favour of moving back to weekly waste bin pickups. The needs of larger households must be further considered, as well as the health risks associated with leaving certain kinds of waste out for potentially up to 2 weeks at a time. And to elaborate briefly, I understand that approaching a year of Kwinana implementing the FOGO system, a review is going to
Sorry, let's give you a correction there. We actually have not implemented FOGO. We've implemented what's called GO, Garden Organic, so it's quite very different to FOGO.
Okay, the free bin system, let's call it. Okay. So having said that, if a review was to be conducted, this would speak to the, I suppose, the scope and priorities of that review. That's all.
Thank you. Is there someone to second the motion? Ms. Salakajani, would you like to speak?
Yes. I think this is very important that we understand that FOGO is very different with GO, because in FOGO we also have a little bit of room in our green waste for our household waste, which Kwinana doesn't have that. So that's why in around Kwinana you do not see many green bins out there in the 2-week time, which is probably a waste of resource for the waste management to come around, collect them, and for the household not to use that bin very frequently. So in my street alone, you will only see 1 or 2 bins, and they have to do it because they have this pressure on their mind, and that's not even full, because that system doesn't work. However, if you had your waste from your fruit or vegetable and stuff in that, that could have helped your red bin not to be that full, which I urge for the council to review that and bring back that weekly pick-up of the rubbish. Our parks are full, everywhere you go.
Sorry, I'm a little confused here. We actually do collect our rubbish weekly.
No,
This is not Rockingham. We collect the red top bins every week. So,
yeah, so do not go to the fortnightly.
so
Yeah, that's correct. So
Yeah.
mine is about reviewing the proposed move to fortnightly.
Yeah.
so sorry, there is no proposed move to fortnightly. I think you're reading someone else's social media, but certainly Kwinana has not in any point had any conversations about moving towards a fortnightly red top bin collection. We are once a week, and there's no current review in place for that. So I'm not sure where you've got that information from.
So there is no move to FOGO?
There's no move to fortnightly red bin.
Do you want me to say that as well? Do you want me to state that as well? Yeah, so from city officers, so the move to 3 bins was undertaken last year. We will undertake a review within a period of time to see how the system is performing, particularly around contractor performance around the tenders. But there is absolutely no intention to move to a fortnightly collection. That has not been discussed. It has not been discussed with council. It's not raised within city officers.
Sure. You'd come to the podium, please.
So it's my understanding that it's state law, the implementation.
State law can't actually require a local government to collect rubbish at any sort of rate. A local government enters into a contract with a private contractor, and each local government will determine their own waste collection process. Yes, state government has requested that local governments move towards a 3-bin system. The city has chosen a GO system as opposed to a FOGO system, but certainly state government cannot mandate us to do that.
Yeah, through the Mayor, just to add to what the Mayor said, the state government has a focus on the 3 bins, particularly a move to FOGO, but that was part of our waste strategy, which there was a lot of consultation with the community around. Community was very clear around move to 3 bin. The move to a FOGO, though, does not deliver the benefits which are sort of required in terms of recovery rates, and the cost is quite significant, and that's why the council, in consultation with the community, made the decision to do a GO type system, but it is a weekly collection of the red bin.
So for the record, there's no proposed.
There is no proposed move to a fortnightly. Yeah, correct.
Sorry, fortnightly.
Correct.
Waste collections. Okay.
So I think based on that confusion, I think that motion is basically voided and withdrawn.
Are you happy to withdraw the motion?
Well, considering it's about the scope of the review and that we're reviewing.
I'm not, sorry.
Yeah,
through
but
the Mayor.
you're talking about conducting a review based on us moving towards a fortnightly collection, which we're not moving towards. So your motion in its current form is actually not valid. because the only reason why we would review is if we had actually had a conversation or discussed to actually move to a fortnightly collection. Please come forward if you'd like to say something.
So the review, as I understand it, would be about our bin system broadly.
Correct.
So this motion is, focusing on, we're looking at FOGO, moving to FOGO?
No.
No.
Okay, so that's,
So less than 12 months ago, we've implemented a Go system within the city, and I'm not sure, the director can probably tell me when that will be reviewed. I think it's probably after 2 years, possibly 3. It depends on the length of the contract. That contract will be reviewed, and it's entirely possible that review could say, well, let's get rid of the small bin and bring back the big bin. I don't know, until they actually conduct the review, but certainly the review is on the Go system.
okay. Look, if that's the case, I'll withdraw this motion.
Okay, thank you. Are there any other motions by electors? Please come forward and state your name.
Stuart Shocker from 21 Hoyle Road, Medina. I'd like to put forward a motion to not have vehicles that are designed and registered as camper vans classed as commercial vehicles, just because they're over 7.5 metres in length and hence not be allowed to be stored on a residential property. Couple of reasons. I feel like it's we don't want commercial vehicles being stored on residential properties. I'm all fine with that, but when it's a recreational vehicle that's just used for travelling or camper van, that sort of thing, I don't believe it's a commercial vehicle at all. And also I have used a vehicle like this as well to help out people in hardship and need for small amounts of time to get them off the street and give them a place to stay, whereas I wouldn't let someone stay in my house, but I don't mind them using a little space on my land where they can be sheltered. And yeah.
Okay. Thank you. Someone second the motion?
I'll second it.
Seconded Councillor Sargent. Would you like to speak in support?
Can I?
You've seconded it.
Can I do it from here?
You can do it from there.
Sorry, I believe as well that a caravan is a recreational vehicle as long as it's stored within compliance, it's not covering a footpath, it's on someone's personal land. It is not, as long as I guess it's not being used for commercial purposes, and then you would have to register a business if someone's running a business out of a caravan, but as a personal recreational vehicle, I believe that that should be removed from the commercial side of it, and I definitely think that if there's some parameters to potentially have someone offer generosity in their space, to go, I can make sure someone has a roof over their head in this time of crisis, that is something that would be beneficial to Kwinana, as long as it's within regulations and compliance and done correctly.
Thank you. Sorry, Councillor Brown, you have.
Can I point of order / ask a question?
You can give it a crack.
Could the city educate, I guess, councillors in the chamber on the local law? I guess that this situation wouldn't be compliant with, just so we're.
Well, I think so. We now have a motion, so the requirement is for us to vote on the motion and a report to come to council, which will then answer your question.
Because it's to review the local law.
Okay, so I'll put the motion to the vote. All those in favour? Against? Motion is carried. Are there any other motions from the members of the public? No? Last opportunity? That being said, as there is no other business of the Electors General Meeting, I'll declare the meeting closed at 5:48. Thank you for attending.